So what do you call yourself? Welcome to the LaTangela Show. Hey.
Hey, what can I do for you this fine day?
This is your destiny. Hot, hot, hot. Right now.
Welcome to the LaTangela Show.
Kick it.
Come on in and enjoy yourself.
Right now.
We gon' party like no one else. Welcome to the LaTangela Show.
Somebody pray for me. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the LaTangela Show podcast. Now, you know, it does my heart well to have this time together. Well, we'll talk about this, we'll talk about that. And in the hot seat on the tan line, I feel like somebody told on me because I have been cutting up. And when I saw Pastor Donaldson walking by, I said, oh, wait a minute. I am in trouble. I don't know what I said to who, when, but if Pastor Donaldson is coming by, I said, oh, no, wait a minute. He's coming by to tell me about all of the great things going on with Arise and Build. So now I'm adding more titles to this outside of just greatness and being such an inspiration. Author Danny M. Donaldson Sr. is in the building. How are you?
Doing great. Excited to be here, LaTangela. Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. You know, this is an extension of your office. I'm always excited to see you because I know that you're showing up and you're doing whatever it is in that moment in the spirit of excellence. You're always on the right side, especially of trying to move the initiative forward to make sure that people are informed and that they are equipped with the things they need. And, you know, right now, the world is just so angry and upside down. It's almost like it's just spiraling in real time. There is no soft space to land. There is no safe outlet to say it. And I really enjoy doing this podcast because I want it to be a safe, warm, welcoming space for people to just be heard and understood for whatever perspective they're coming from, right?
Absolutely.
And when we start talking about the blueprint for living the life of your dreams, Arise and Build, from faith to finished, tell me, what was the inspiration behind this book?
Well, the thing I realize is that many people don't understand the difference between occupation, career, and success, and vocation, calling, and significance. In other words, occupation is how you make your living. Vocation is how you make your difference. You know, a lot of people want to be successful, but they don't realize the importance of significance.
Right.
And so what we do is we go to work, we buy the big house, we buy the car, and we still wonder, why am I unfulfilled? Because there's another component. You've been what we call successful, but you haven't been significant because you haven't helped anybody. Because your calling is about who you're called to help, what you're called to do. You know, your occupation is about what you do, but your calling is about who you help along the way. I tell everybody, a fruit tree never eats its own fruit. Why? Because it was not designed to eat its own fruit.
But who thinks like that though? Like really? I mean, we always hear about, you can tell about the tree by the fruits of his labor, but whoever puts it like that, that's deep.
Well, think about it. When you walk by a tree, you pick the fruit from the tree. The tree doesn't eat its own fruit. It didn't produce it for itself. It produced it for somebody else. And so what I'm saying is that God gives you gifts. He gives you these talents, but they're not for you. They're for other people to pick from your talent and from your gifts. And you're called to help somebody else. And that makes you significant, not just successful.
Right. And you know, you're anointed to be able to tell these examples and to give real-time life experiences. You've been doing this from the pulpit for many years, right? And that's a calling in itself. And right now, it's almost like people can get so distorted with different messaging. How do you find the way to stay grounded in whatever it is that keeps you so focused?
Well, you have to understand, I did this series called The Full Armor of God. And the reason why you have to put it on is because you're in a constant fight. And what people don't understand these days, the fight is not a physical fight. It's a spiritual fight, but it's also a very mental fight. Because what people really want is they want you distracted, they want you distorted, and they want us divided. And so what happens is if you're distracted, you lean toward entertainment and things that soothe you, things that make you comfortable instead of empowerment and things that embolden you, things that take you to the place that God designed for you to be. And so what happens is our community is so leaning toward entertainment, that we don't pick up a book, we
Right.
don't do these things that we need to do to become the people that God has called us to be. And so what we'll find ourselves doing is watching movies and on social media and all those other outlets. But those things don't transform us. When we pick up a book or something like this, those things really transform us and help us to become who God is destined for us to be.
Now, when you say transform us, now, I don't know, it sounds like fighting words. Because now you're starting to talk about being challenged.
Uh-huh.
You're starting to say you have to put in work.
Mhm.
You have to be disciplined. You have to stay with it. And you have to have some type of an end game.
Yeah.
Do you notice any difference right now from, let's just say, the young generation now compared to that maybe of 10, 15, 20 years ago, when it comes down to setting a plan, maybe even what it looks like for role models, accessibility? How has that changed even in the approach with the outreach that you do?
Well, what you have to understand is we're in the information age. And so the thing that has changed is instant information. You know, when we were growing up, we didn't have cell phones initially and things like this. We didn't have social media and all these things. And so information wasn't instant. And so we have to be careful because information has several words in it that's important. It has the word inform, it has the word formation in it, which means when people give you information, they're informing you so you can walk in a certain formation. And if you're not very careful with the information that you're receiving, you'll be walking in a formation that you didn't design and you didn't pick. And so what you have to understand is in life, you have to begin with the end in mind. When they shoot a movie, they start with the last scene first. Why? So when they go back to the beginning, they can make sure they end up at that scene. And in our lives, we have to do the same thing. That's what this book is about. It's about having vision. It's about quantifying that vision. It's about writing that vision so that you can understand what you're going after and where you're going to, and ultimately who you're going to be, so that when you start walking this race out, you know where you're going to end up.
And speaking on that journey from vision to victory,
Mhm.
you know, that journey, it always start with the first step, but where are you trying to go? Take me through the process from journey, vision to victory.
Well, it all starts with a calling. And that's what this book is about. It's about answering that call, because that's why I talk about occupation and all those things. You know, we get jobs, but we don't understand this calling that God places on us sometimes. And sometimes it's different from what we've been called to do to make a living and what we've been called to do to make a difference. And so what happens is we get this call, this desire to do something different. It's based on the story of Nehemiah. Nehemiah was the king's cupbearer, and he had a good position. He was in place. And then all of a sudden, he has this encounter with these people, and they tell him that Jerusalem, his hometown, has been under siege and that the gates and the walls have been torn down. And it gives him this feeling that he can't shake. And all of a sudden, he realizes, I need to go back. And he's serving the king one day, and the king says, "What's wrong with you?" He says, "You've got sickness of the heart." He said, "Your heart is broken." He says, "Yeah, because my hometown is struggling, and I need to go back and fix it." So he leaves his occupation to go pick up his vocation, to go make the difference that God has called him to make. And it ultimately shifts and changes his life.
When you just stated you have sickness of the heart, there's something that's ailing you so much to where you can't shake it. Now I'm watching a lot of commercials, and I won't even go into the naming of it, right? But you'll start seeing that they play on that so much too, because they don't want you to see the spiritual realm
Mhm.
of sickness of the heart. It may be disguised as other things, it may be amplified as other things, more so than going back to a source that's going to keep you grounded to hear a small, still voice.
Yes.
How is it that you can tell those who may not be as spiritually grounded to know the difference? To know that maybe it's something that's a calling that's tugging on them instead of a mental heaviness, to be able to tell which is which.
Yeah, well, I tell everybody I have in here, there are a few things that I recommend. I recommend fasting, I recommend meditation, I recommend journaling, and I recommend prayer. And all those things are important because they help us to, number one, hear that still small voice. When you meditate, you get rid of the noise. I'm not talking about some weird meditation. I'm talking about just getting to a place where you're quiet and still. When you fast, it gives you a place where you stop sending energy to digestion, and that energy can go to finding your purpose and your call. And when you write it out, you can write out the revelation that God has given you. And finally, when you get to prayer, you can get to a place where you can hear God's voice and understand that there's a calling on your life. And what happens is a lot of times people struggle because they don't realize that this is a calling, like you were saying, and they think it's just a heaviness. But once you get to that still place, that quiet place, and you recognize that God is calling you to do something greater, then you begin to pursue that. Then you, in the end, you can have what you really seek, and that's fulfillment.
Things like fasting, for those who may be beginners, it may have contemplated doing it once or twice, maybe. Yeah. How do you even start that? What does that look like? Is it something that, maybe I'm going to do this, and this, but this is still flexible, or is it a hard fast? What does it look like?
There are different types of fast. And so I suggest that people start with simple fast. You can start with a 12-12 fast. That means 12 hours you eat, 12 hours you don't. 16-8. You can get to a point where you get to 20 to 4, those ratios. And then, of course, there are days. You can go days with fasting. And you just have to be careful. Make sure that you're talking to your doctor and all those people to make sure that it's safe. But little by little, you can build up your tolerance for fasting, and you can really get some great revelation through fasting.
And when you start talking about the sacrifice element of fasting, some of us are addicted to these cell phones. Would that count as a fast?
Absolutely. A digital fast would be great, and we all could probably benefit from that.
Listen, I'm asking because these are questions that need some serious answers.
Yes.
When you start talking about recognizing the purpose, you have so many people that are gifted and talented, and even with social media now telling a lot of people that they are what they say they are until sometimes they need to do it, which cause that instant letdown when they don't get the instant gratification. How do you know how to recognize your real purpose throughout all of that static?
Well, you got to get to a place where you spend time with God. You got to spend quality time with God to the point where you hear and understand it. I use myself for example because I also use my story in the book. And I was working a job in corporate America, and I heard this calling on my life to do something, what I consider greater or very important. And at one point, I was kind of like, it'll pass. But the thing that you understand is when you have a calling, it doesn't just pass. It keeps nagging, it keeps gnawing at you. And you just don't have a peace until you really walk in that calling. And so it wasn't until I started to walk in that calling, initially as an associate minister, then I got to a place where the call of pastorate was on my life.
Right.
And I had to walk away from my corporate job altogether. And that was super scary because now I'm dependent solely on the gift and the calling that God placed on my life. And now I'm relying on that to feed my family and all those things. And so what some people have to understand is you may not have a calling where you have to walk away from anything. There are some people who have an occupation and a vocation. You have a calling and you have your career. And on one side, you do that. And on the other side, you do something else. And so you might go to work all day and then you might help somebody over here on the other side and you become fulfilled in that way. But there are a few people who are called to walk away from their corporate jobs and things like that and then embrace that full time. And that can be a scary proposition. But
Yeah.
I can attest that God is faithful.
Pastor Donaldson, even within that, there's a level of sacrifice that not only did you make for yourself, but you had to go home and explain that to your wife.
Oh, absolutely.
And now she has to trust more than you. She has to trust you and God and this decision that she's living with. So when people are building their village, building their tribe, building their foundation of their family, how important is it that you have someone that is so equally yoked, so aligned to where they will trust you even when they don't see the end game?
Yeah, it's super important. Who you marry matters. It matters a great deal. I tell everybody it can send you spiraling upward or downward. And so who you marry matters. For instance, my wife was in nursing, and when I started pastoring, I took a decrease in salary. And so she picked up extra shifts and did extra things to help me to fulfill my calling and walk in the destiny that God had designed for my life.
Yeah.
And so, it took a special person, and she's a special woman. Indeed. And I give her great credit for what she did. And until we can get to a place where we built this and then worked on other businesses and different things. And so who you marry matters a great deal.
Absolutely. And that's important. I think that's a conversation that we really need to normalize because the decisions that we make in the moment can really impact our future and the journey as of how we get there. And, what will we do once we get there? Because those who are closest to us can either encourage us or make us sacrifice something that will help us dwindle. And it's important that we are that realistic with ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to know your calling early. And I'll say this, before you get married, while you're dating and all those things, because then you give that person an option. This is what I'm called to do. Do you want to take this journey with me? And sometimes you got people who are building businesses. Their lives are going to be rocky. It's going to be up and down for a season. You have to have a person who can cope with that and deal with that. Some people need security and they want their life to be, very, very secure. And They don't want those ups and downs. And so when you know you're calling early, you give that other person an opportunity to say yes or no.
Yeah, communication is key. You might won't say that out loud.
Right.
And while you're executing that vision, what type of consistency should we do? Because everything is going to be different. You're not expecting you out of everybody else that's in your circle, but what level of expectancy should we put on ourselves to say that we're really serious about something?
It's going to take discipline, and you got to understand that. I posted a video the other day that said that life, every day is like a microcosm of life. You have a waking up, it's like a birth, and you have a laying down, it's like a death. And so every day you have to understand every day is like a brick that you lay toward the foundation that you're trying to secure. And so it's not going to happen all at once, but you got to have the dedication to wake up and lay a brick every day.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you'll ultimately build what you want to build.
Yeah. Life is out here life, and sometimes those bricks, while you're trying to build them, they're slanging them at you.
Right.
How do you manage to keep that momentum even when it's hard?
Well, a few things. Number one, you have to understand if you want to go far, you got to take some people with you. If you want to go fast, you can go by yourself. So I talk about the importance of building a team. I talk about how to build that team. Then I talk about systems that you need to put in place so that you can be organized and structured so that you can get to where you need to be. And so when you have the right things in place, ultimately opposition will come. But when you have the right people, the right resources, and the right things that you need in place, then it makes dealing with that opposition a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your purpose, your legacy. While inking this chapter, I know some of this book, all of it, got personal for you, but what is the takeaway that you really want the listener, the viewers, the reader to walk away with when you have them read your purpose, your legacy?
Well, I want people to understand that there's a difference between inheritance and legacy. Sometimes we think about inheritance. Inheritance is what people leave for us, but legacy is what people leave in us. And I want you to understand this. Every family deals with something. You talk about generational curses, you talk about strongholds. And here's what I've learned, that God always sends a breaker. And so even though that particular thing may be dredged in that family's DNA, God will send somebody who has the ability to break it and stop that cycle. And that person creates a legacy. And so when I'm talking about legacy, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody who's called to do something great that breaks up the system, breaks up the monotony, and sends a family catapulting in a new direction.
I love it. And 'tis the season. We have so many brilliant minded individuals, and sometimes they just need that spark of encouragement. If you can't find it where you are, move around a little bit. It's a big world. Use a different hashtag, use a different retweet, go through the doors of another church.
Right.
Speaking of, if we want to come in fellowship with you and your family, where are you located? Because we need to get more people through the doors. That's where all the cool kids hang out. We're going to the church house.
We're at 3213 Groom Road, right across the street from Baker High School, 3213 Groom Road. Every Sunday, 9:15 and 11:30. You could choose either one. And of course, we're there at 7 o'clock on Thursdays. And we started this new Bible study at Southern 2 every other week on Thursdays at 6 p.m.
I love it. And with the book, you're doing book tours?
Well, I haven't started yet, but I would love to do some book tours. And we really started with a soft launch, but we're going to do a hard launch, and then we're going to do some tours and some different things. And so we would love to come your way if you're interested in having us.
Absolutely. And I want you to always think of this as an extension of your office. I know we say that all the time. It is. When we started doing Ask the Pastor, there was never a moment that I could call that you wouldn't answer, wouldn't pull up. It's important to you. You are important to us. And the work is definitely needed and important in times such as these.
Yes.
So look, let's plan that book tour. Let's get the word out. It's a field trip.
Yes.
And wait, hold on a second. Wait, let me see. Ow!
I'm going to sign it. Yes, trust me. I'm going to sign it. And I would love for you to follow me on social media. I'm on all social media outlets: Instagram, Danny M. Donaldson, TikTok. I'm new to TikTok. I'm almost at 1,000 followers. Danny M. Donaldson Sr. Of course, Facebook, Pastor Danny M. Donaldson. And I'm new on YouTube, Danny Donaldson Official. Danny Donaldson Official. And I'll be doing some new long form teaching on there really soon. So follow me, subscribe to YouTube. We'd love to have you as a part of the family.
Absolutely. And I look forward to seeing you back real soon. And bring the family with you next time, too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The whole family. Tell me, I say whatever.
I got Megan there with me. Hey, Megan. Megan. What's up, DJ? What's up, Shorman?
Yes,
Yes.
definitely bring the family back with you. I'm proud of all of you. I know you have more work to do, so I'm gonna let you chase the sun or let the sun chase you. But
And we're so
well,
proud of you. We're so
thank you,
proud of you
Pastor.
and all that you're doing in the city and
Thank you.
your heart and your compassion and your love and your passion. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for it.
Thank you.
Yes.
I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can
I
do
love you
about
back.
it.